Good morning. I'm Bill Stewart, and I've had the privilege of being a member of this Gracious Church for 7 years, and this is my witness. As I was growing up, I asked myself, where is God? How do I find him? Where is the kingdom of heaven? How can I get there? I started almost unconsciously looking for things that would answer those questions. Likely, I'm not alone in searching for those things. Here's a brief story of my journey. When I was a young boy living at the Lake Tahoe Keys, I had two friends that lived a block over from us. They were twins, Robert and Rodney. We played together and built cabins with Lincoln logs and explored the little strip of woods that lay between us and our grammar school. One day they gave me a large plastic model sailboat that we planned to set in their doughboy pool to see how it would float. But when Robert put it in the pool, he accidentally hit the side of the pool with the masts and broke them off. I was so devastated that my precious gift had been busted that I burst into tears and ran all the way home. That had, briefly, been one of the most precious gifts I had ever received, but it didn't connect me to God and ended up isolating me. Because connecting to God was supposed to happen at church, our family went to church on a regular basis. Not going was not an option at our house. I enjoyed the music, but couldn't figure out how to connect with this guy, God. Jesus was a bit more approachable, but still distant. I went and went and went to church and didn't feel any real connection to God. I had a loving father who, when my younger siblings went to bed, would pull out a plastic model airplane kit for both of us to put together. We'd get a good start on the kit, but I would grow tired and Dad would put me to bed. In the morning, I'd wake up to find the kit all put together sitting on the fireplace mantel. Wow. Spending just that little bit of time in the evenings with just Dad and me was the best. I started building kits on my own when my dad got too busy to help. I'd show him my finished products, but it wasn't the same as when just him and I had been doing it. I've continued building kits for 50 plus years, looking for that connection. As it turned out, building models wasn't the same as spending time with my dad, and it didn't connect me to God. I collected model kits and many, many books about planes and military history. Each book or kit I bought over the decades would surely make me, I felt, happy, and I could pass hours in that book and model happiness. Now I have a 3-car garage full of a testament to the unfulfilling value of models and military books, growing, as my wife might say, like a cancer. By the way, see me after church if you're interested in any books in military history. I made friends in school, but we moved frequently, so I had to start fresh each time. We finally settled down in Forestville, California, where I made 2 very good friends, Bob and Dave. We did all kinds of things together, including some minor mischief. I did everything I could think of to please them, and everyone else for that matter. But I think I lost parts of myself doing that. It was another broken sailboat, and it didn't connect me to God. I tried drugs and alcohol. The alcohol made me sick. The drugs made me lose what tenuous connection I had with reality. I guess you could say all those sailboats just melted into plastic puddles. I had a few girlfriends. We would be intimate, and I thought, this is it. But we would fight, or I would disappoint them, and we'd break up. Those relationships didn't connect me to God either. Likely you have your own list of things that didn't connect you to God also. It seemed that my life was strewn with model shipwrecks in my search for God. One night a few years ago, as I was somewhere between being asleep and awake, I had a vision in my room. It was faint, but a bunch of figures with contorted faces were moving and dancing in odd ways. It scared the crap out of me because I believed then, and still believe today, that I'd gotten a glimpse of hell. I realized that I was not heading in the right direction and needed to do something to change that direction. I went looking for a church during the next few weeks. The second church I went to was this one. I had gotten after a few interactions with some folks here, and particularly after I'd gotten a postcard from Vern Miniachi about missing a Methodist men's Thursday morning breakfast, I knew I had found my church home. And I found that my only way to escape the vision I'd seen and get out of this world in peace was to accept Jesus as my Savior and Redeemer. I had made a step toward connecting with God. I had been going to Al-Anon, a support group for family and friends of alcoholics, for many years, because as it turned out, both of my good friends were alcoholics, and so were some family members. I've been in Al-Anon for 2 decades and slowly realized that there was a way here also to connect with God. I took a class at church called Mending the Soul several years ago. It showed me how trauma in my past had affected how I respond and react to people, places, and things in the present. It had a profound effect on how I viewed my life as a whole, and it helped me make sense of who I was and where I had been. I also joined a grace group. I found love, support, and courage to grace those around me, including complete strangers. Grace group showed me how God had freely and generously graced me, and that I would grace others the same way. Joining these groups put me in a community of people asking the same questions I was asking, and who also were seeking God. I'm so very thankful for this congregation for being that healthy, supportive community that has made my growth possible. I came to the realization that I wanted to work on my connection to God and to be of service to Him. I very much needed to study and meditate. I wanted to practice always being present with God. I needed to do the footwork to connect with God. That connection wouldn't just fall into my lap. It would take work on my part. That's when I realized that the more open I was about looking for God, the closer I felt to Him and His Son. I noticed small, miraculous things happening around me all the time. Those things became bigger and more evident when I turned things over to Him that I didn't have control over. Turning things over to God was easy to witness in my career as a nurse. So very much is out of your control in the nursing profession that I was driven to seek God and ask for His help. There were no other options. Things and situations that I was concerned about but had no control over, by some miracle, usually worked out. And most often the timing was perfect. I know that as long as I continue asking for His help, that will allow God to do His work. Once, a few years ago, the whole family, including our 4 very young grandchildren, were visiting us here in Visalia for a couple of weeks. At one point, when I was at my wit's end, I made an escape to the garage and did something I'd never done. I raised my hands in the air and prayed, "God, give me peace." Then, just as I was walking out of the garage, a sense of peace and calm settled over me. I'd never felt anything like it. I knew that I had found a connection to God. I often feel that many of my original questions have led me towards more answers. I've realized that some of those questions will not be fully answered until I pass from this life. But I do know that I need to do my part to find you, God. And that part is to continually seek you and to trust in you wherever I go until my last breath. So, my story began with a couple of friends who gave me a precious gift that broke. But my search has led me to a gift that would never break, the precious gift of God's love. I want to encourage you to keep searching for that precious gift too. Thank you.